We have to be here in the rose garden before sunrise, so as not to lose the water inside the roses. Because when the sun rises, the roses wilt. When they wilt, they lose their moisture, and we need the water in the petals. This small rose isn't ready. We'll wait until it's fully open. But if I don't pick this, we'll lose it. It will wilt and fall off. So it has to be picked now.
Nice.
It smells good. Very fresh. Its smell is, how can I put it? Soothing.
This March morning is the start of the Damask rose harvest for Saeed Al-Riyami and his family. There's no time to lose. The wonderfully perfumed petals must be distilled immediately after picking for the rosewater to retain all of their fragrance. Saeed's hanging rose garden sits at the top of the Omani mountains. Known as Jebel Akhdar, Arabic for the Green Mountain, the region is named for the many oases that have sprung up in this arid setting. These surreal islands of green are home to many traditional villages scattered along the cliffs. On the southeastern coast of the Arabian Peninsula, the Sultanate of Oman is 80% desert. At 2,000 meters above sea level, the Jebel Akhdar Massif extends for 100 kilometers at the center of Oman's main mountain range. Some 40 oasis villages are dotted among its rocky slopes. Gardens of Eden in the middle of the mountains of Arabia. Jebel Akhdar's steep mountains and dizzyingly deep canyons stretch as far as the eye can see. In these drylands, people have achieved the impossible. Gardens of abundance cling to the rocky slopes. Water, so scarce in the region, flows in the bowels of the mountains. For centuries, ingenious farmers have harnessed this precious resource to cultivate the land. Today, passionate scientists are trying to understand the secret of the lush oasis' survival. The modern world has encroached on this once isolated region over the past few decades. Increasing urbanization is disrupting the traditional way of life here. But many villagers are striving to maintain the land shaped by their ancestors, determined to preserve their wealth of crops. The village of Al-Ayn rises to 2,000 meters. At dawn, after the first prayer of the day, the villagers make their way to the rose gardens bordering the mosque. Some have taken time off work for the annual spring harvest. Saeed Al-Riyami picks the delicate roses by hand, as his ancestors once did. Skills passed down from generation to generation, learned at a young age.
I started coming here with my father and brothers to pick the roses when I was 5. We live as a community, like the fingers of a hand. From daybreak, we all come here together. The whole family.
Rosa damascena is the Latin name of the damask rose. Considered the queen of roses, this variety from Syria is one of the oldest in the world. Those that bloom at the top of Jebel Akhdar are renowned throughout the Middle East for the supreme quality of their scent. These delicate flowers are harvested once a year. When the steep terraces come to life and don their robe of green at the start of spring.
Jebel Akhdar experiences a period of drought before turning into an earthly paradise. The color changes from dry to green. Then the green gives way to pink. The roses make it even more beautiful. Because the rose always brings something positive. It gives people a sweet soul. When someone doesn't feel good, send them roses. After all, a rose is a rose.
The village's rose bushes grow alongside pomegranate, almond and peach trees, whose fruit is especially tasty. These species are usually found in the more temperate regions of the world. So how do these plants manage to thrive in this desert landscape? What is the secret of these gardens of scent and flavor? Andreas Burkert has been studying the Oasis of Oman for some 20 years. This German botanist has installed climate stations among the rose bushes.
In our small climate stations, which we use in conjunction with proper weather stations, we accurately measure the temperature of the air and its moisture content. The morning hours interest us most because this is when the temperature is lowest.
At 2,000 meters above sea level, the climate is milder here than in the rest of Oman. At the height of summer, the barometer never rises above 30 degrees Celsius in these mountains, yet it hits 50 degrees in the plains. But if fruit trees thrive here, it is above all due to Jebel Akhdar's winter temperatures. Each spring, Andreas Burkert notes down the measurements recorded by his instruments over the previous months.
The great variety of fruit trees, including those from temperate regions, is essentially due to the fact that we're at altitude, 2,000 meters above sea level, and that the temperatures are very cool for this latitude, especially in winter. If we look at this temperature data, we can see that it drops very sharply in winter to 2 degrees, and that it varies between 2 and 10 degrees. You never see these sorts of temperatures in the plains at this latitude. So this region has its own unique climate. And it is the accumulation of these cold periods which triggers a reaction to the cold and causes the trees to blossom and develop fruit.
Thanks to the microclimate at these high elevations, the villages of Al-Ayn are able to grow species typically seen in the Mediterranean basin.